What is going on, YouTube family? It's Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and to be honest, it is a pretty cloudy day here. It rained yesterday and was pretty cool outside. We actually made chili last night. It was that kind of cool feeling for the summer, and here we are. It's cloudy again today. We're expecting some pretty big storms this afternoon, and so I am getting outside right now. I actually had plans today to harvest my onions, and we're going to be harvesting potatoes really soon. I showed you yesterday I have harvested my garlic, but the fact is I want to harvest my onions and leave them laying in the garden for a few days to kind of cure before I put them in any kind of storage. And this is just not going to be a good day for that. I definitely don't want to harvest them and then them get rained on. So I am going to show y'all my onions. Now I want to tell you a couple things. These right here, you can see that they're still growing and they're still really green, and the necks of them down there are still really straight and standing up. I'm probably not going to harvest those because those are still growing. All those things I just mentioned are indications, and I know there's some grass, that these are still growing. But you can see this has bolted, meaning it has formed a flower head that is then going to make all kinds of seeds. And while that's a good thing, I mean, that's what plants do, right, is form seeds that we can then grow those again. But that is not best for optimum harvest conditions. Those onions that have bolted like that will not store well. And I have probably 5 or 6 of those down through my onion row that are like that. So what am I going to do with those? Well, the simple answer is we are going to eat those. I'm not going to cure those and try to make those last several months in storage because they won't store well. They will wind up possibly making the rest of them rot or mold or something like that. So we will eat those right away. That's what we'll do with those. So why am I saying I'm going to harvest onions if what I showed you is still growing and not ready to be harvested? Well, let me show you. Because of this right here. You can see this neck is totally different. It's soft and it's broke over. It's flimsy. That means those are ready to be harvested. That is what you're looking for to see if you're ready to harvest your onions. Sorry about the grass. This is real life. You can see all these have soft necks. They are ready to be pulled up, and I'll be showing you that later in the week. So I will go down through here, and these that have the soft necks that are laid over, you can see a lot of these are red onions, and different onions that different types are ready at different times. And I think that's what's happened here. These red ones are ready. So I will pull these and lay them off to the side in the sun for a few days, and then I will move them somewhere cool and shady where they have a nice breeze on them, and they can continue curing for storage for the winter. All right, let's move on over there. Why is that row cover up in the air? So you can see this row cover in several places has been pushed up. And the short answer is these broccoli plants under here are growing like crazy and they're pushing it up. You can see they've pushed it up off of this. So be watching for that. If you have this row cover out, I need to come out here and loosen both sides. You can see over here it goes all the way down. I need to take some of that slack and let it come over to this side because we could still get bugs. This broccoli, some of it is getting close to forming a head of broccoli. Some of it already is, and so at this point we don't want to lose this crop just from our row cover coming up. And look at those tomatoes. We are starting to get tomatoes. You can see my peas, they've surrendered to the heat. Those are sugar snaps. So those are the Amish paste. You can see those are doing really well. All of our tomatoes are doing really well. The Haas Tool seeds we have gotten are doing fantastic, as well as the Amish paste is a favorite of mine from Baker Creek. They are doing amazing. In fact, we just got a large order of Haas Tool seeds for fall planting. I'm really excited about that. And you may be thinking, fall planting, it's just now summer. But you gotta be thinking ahead. We need to be thinking about our fall gardens right now. especially if you're going to sprout your own seeds, because those need a little bit to get up and get strong enough to go outside. So you're not planting your fall garden outside right now, but you're starting to plan what you're going to plant, starting to make plans to get those sprouted in your greenhouse or wherever you're going to do that at. And I just got to show you these Tachi tomatoes from Haas. Look at those. They are simply loaded. And the plants, I think, look pretty healthy. This brown you see on the bottom of my plants, that's just a common occurrence in the south. That is just simply from hot weather. These are the ox hearts. You can see they're doing really well. That's one of my favorites as well for sauces and pastes. So you can definitely clean up your tomato plants and pull off some of that brown foliage on the bottom. I'm just going to be honest with y'all, we have been swamped with baling hay. That cleaning up tomato plants has been really low on my list. That's just how it is here on the farm that we live on. Things just crop up every day, and they may be something we weren't even planning on, but they jump to the top of the list, and everything else has to be bumped down. That's just honestly how we all live our lives, whether we consciously do it or not. We take care of the things that crop up and put out the fires that are most pressing, and then if we can't do it all doesn't get done. And you know what? These tomato plants are still fine. So if yours have a little brown leaves, it's okay. If you get time, it's best to get rid of them just to keep your plant's maximum health going. But if you don't, that's okay too. All right, I'm gonna walk y'all over to the potatoes because it's gonna look vastly different the next time you see it because I'm about to dig them. But I'm not going very far up in there. I learned that the last time I took y'all over here and I got chased out by a bee and I didn't even have time to turn the camera off. So of course, my lovely children left it in the video. I think some of y'all got a kick out of that, but I know they say don't run and flip out when stuff's chasing you, but that fight or flight kicks in for me and I'm gonna run. All right, so before we get to the potatoes, this is the sweet potatoes and they have taken off. I'm loving having them on this tarp. It's controlled the weeds really well. You can see up through there, again, I'm not going up there, but those Stark Brothers trees we planted are doing amazing. So here is the 2 potato rows. And I'm just gonna be honest, at this point, I think a lot of that is just weeds. The potatoes have started to die back. We had a shortage of straw in this area, so they are mulched heavily with hay. Some of that, like you can see right here, is straw, but on up through there, a lot of it is hay. That promotes weed growth because hay is full of seeds where straw is not. But that's okay. The potatoes did really well. They were there and thriving until just a bit ago. And so now it's just time to dig them. We've talked about getting out here one morning when Ben's off work really early and doing it because it's gonna be a hot job. You can see right over there, that's gonna mean we gotta wear bee suits because they're right by our beehives, and this hot, humid weather, they will chase you off. Even though if you've been seeing some of our bee videos where Danny said our bees are pretty gentle, they are pretty gentle, but you start running down through here with a tractor, which is what we're gonna use to bust up the ground, they're not gonna like it. So one thing I wanted to mention as we're walking back over to the other gardens is we planted our potatoes conventionally the way we've always done it. Dig a furrow, plant them in the dirt, cover them up with dirt, and then we'll usually till. We'll till a ton of times, throwing more dirt on them and all that. And this year we planted them like that in the furrow, But then we started seeing videos, we learn from YouTube all the time, about people using the roof stout method, and where you just put the potatoes basically on the ground and cover them up with straw, and you just keep deep mulching over and over and over. And so that area quickly grew up in grass. And we decided, you know what, let's give that method a try. So we did. I'm gonna take you along as I harvest them to see if it works, because we had actually buried ours. But I'm gonna tell you what, if that worked, I'm sold on it, because it was so much less work and maintenance. Lane and I got over there several times and mulched them with straw and hay, but that was nothing compared to tilling and tilling and tilling and tilling. Not to mention, we've had lots of problems in the past with our potatoes being really near the surface and turning green, and we have eaten those. They will tell you those are harmful and toxic. While I would not recommend you do it, we have, but it's just not your optimum potatoes. It's not the biggest, healthiest potatoes if they're sitting right there at the surface. So I am hoping for a tremendous potato harvest. If you've been here a while, you know last year our potatoes flopped. We didn't get very many. I dug them by myself and there just wasn't much there. But I have high hopes for this year. So stay tuned, that'll be coming in the next few days. All right, so I want to show you this back garden, but I gotta be honest with you about a couple things back here. This ground cover is a blessing and a curse. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The blessing is, look at this beautiful garden. Look how wonderful it's looking. Everything looks so good. But we messed up big time on this stuff. So you can see we actually put the two pieces of tarp and left only about an inch or two gap between each one. And we planted in those. There's hardly any room for anything other than just the plant. But y'all, there is so much grass that has grown in those, what I'm gonna call cracks. We have crawled around at least 3 times already and weeded this entire garden. And you have to weed it by hand, because there's no getting a tiller down through here. There's not even enough room for a hoe. So you can see the kids just weeded this a couple days ago. It looks pretty good. But then you jump over here to the green beans, and it's been about a week and a half since it was weeded. And look at all of that grass. So the garden back here is actually doing great. The plants are way ahead of the grass at this point. So that's what I told Ben. I said, those green bean rows, the corn rows, all those things, I'm done weeding those. And you have to crawl around on the ground to weed it. It's just a nightmare. It's not the way this stuff was meant to be used, I don't think. And so I've learned from my mistakes. This was my idea, because I couldn't bring myself to take all this beautiful new row cover and burn holes in it. And so I've learned, I've changed my ways, and as things come out of this garden this summer, we're gonna go ahead and cover these up. As the green beans and the corn get done, we're gonna scoot those together where there's no gap. And before we replant, even for the fall, we're not even gonna leave it this whole summer. We're gonna burn holes in it and cover those up. Because honestly, it's taken a product that was meant to suppress weeds and help with your weeds, and it's magnified it, because now I can't even get a tool in this tiny little area to work it up. I'm having to do it all just one blade of grass at a time. So learn from us. Go ahead and burn your holes. Go ahead and cover the whole ground. I think you will be glad you did. So I got rained out in the garden. That's what's going on here. That's some of my tips so far on how things are going with the ground cover and the onions and potatoes and all that. Thanks for hanging out with me. We will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. God bless.